such shows as Burn Notice, The Blades, Bones, and The Finder. He was also an assistant director on upcoming movies like The Possession. Well, Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters just passed actually.
Yeah.
So a little bit. Iron Man 3 as well. And Mario lives with his beautiful wife Jennifer and his baby boy Logan, who will also let you know is actually our godson. We're very, very proud of that. Mario, you're also working currently on a film with Rob Schneider with a title that we're not going to say because I don't know if there's a title for it yet. Yep, we're going to keep it to ourselves. So, Mario, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi.
We also have Dr. Frank Castillo. Frank is, he works as a senior editor and multicultural specialist at RCL Benziger. He is an adjunct professor of religious studies at Broward College. He is a member of the Academy of Catholic Hispanic Theologians of the United States and a member of the Catholic Hispanic Institute of Liturgy. His professional interests include Catholic social thought, liturgical theology, liturgical and theological aesthetics, liberation theology, U.S. Hispanic Latino theology, religious studies, comparative religion, religion and film, and cultural identity. Welcome, Frank. And last but not least, where did she go? There she is. Okay, Nicole Abisinio. Nicole started her career as an investment management, working in private equity and hedge funds for 6 years, while simultaneously working as an actress in movies and television. It all turned into a blend in order to get her to film funding as an EP for agencies and producers with packaged projects, bringing multi-million-dollar deals to the table for films with actors including Terrence Howard and Angelina Jolie. She now has Gabriel Messenger's Films, which is her own production company, and has branched into U.S. theatrical distribution with a successful 2013 initial launch, landing their platform release, The Investigator, which was one of our films actually last year, in the top 10 box office averages on opening weekend. Nicole most recently worked in faith-based marketing for major studio releases, most currently Mark Burnett and Roma Downey, Son of God, and Max Lucado's, A Christmas Candle. She is currently producing a new indie film entitled The Favorite, and just optioned an action feature based on true events surrounding the Shroud of Turin, which we're very, very excited about. So, welcome our panelists, please. We're happy to have you here. So for those of you that are brand new and don't really know how this works, the panelists will have about 2 minutes to give us their very first raw impression of the film. And afterwards, I'll let them kind of rebuttal or piggyback on each other's thoughts. Then we'll open it up for you in order to get a Q&A going, just to talk about the themes that are in the film. Okay, so I'm going to bring the mic over here.
We have a mic.
Or, you have a mic too? Wonderful. Okay, so Frank, are you taking the lead? Sounds good to me.
All right. Can you hear me?
I'll turn it up here.
Thank you, Frank.
Go ahead.
Otherwise, I have to use my teacher voice. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, to me, life is a metaphor for salvation, for everything that. Yeah. Thank you very much. To me, life is a metaphor in a religious sense. It's a metaphor for what we want to gain, and what do we want to gain with that? We want to gain salvation. What does salvation mean? Salvation means that we acquire that eternal life that we are seeking, that we spend our whole lives, or we should spend our whole lives seeking. And to me, this movie was about life, a metaphor for life in both senses, in the sense of the concrete real life, biological life, if you will, that we live, and in a sense, everlasting life that it is, agreeing with me, in the sense that we could not understand our life without that other life that we're called to live. And so powerfully did this movie speak about that to me, and especially because Pastor Lee represented God himself. The image that came to my mind is the parable of the prodigal son, because a father who is so concerned, so worried about looking after his children, not only the child that was lost or that went away and that comes back, but who's always on the looking out, always trying to find that child, trying to make amends with the child that left. And I think Pastor Lee finds in the ugliness, in the brutality, if you will, of how these children are abandoned. He tries to find hope. Hope for what? Hope for a better life for them, a better life for the entire world. This is not just a situation, he says, that is happening in South Korea. This is a situation that is happening in every single society of the world, because we do not value life. We do not value life the way that we should value life, as life itself, not for any practical, utilitarian, or other purpose for life, but value life for life itself is the only thing we have. So I was very impressed, I was very moved by this film. And personally, the very last words that he says is something that touched me so deeply. My son is adopted. And when I finished my doctoral dissertation is dedicated to him. And it says, this is dedicated to Andres, who has taught me what it means to be an adoptive son of God, because God has adopted us. So I am an adoptive parent because I am an adoptive son.
Hi, folks. Are we transmitting? All right. So one of the first things that really struck first, but yes, I did not have a dry eye through the whole movie, and not because of sadness in a way, just because, as you said, the movie brought such hope, and something that really blew me away when you're watching the footage of Pastor Lee, however his age is and however many children he happens to have at the house at the time, there seems to be no sign of exhaustion in his face, and in his faith. Like, he's just such an upbeat human being. Taking care of one child alone can be exhausting, and a house full, I can't imagine. And he just has such a rock steady expression on his face the whole time. That blew me away. Another thing about this movie, and as a filmmaker, and I think the landscape of filmmaking has changed, and this movie proves it, is this is the first time I've seen this full feature, but this man's story has gone very viral, and there's so many clips, and his story is so widely available online that that outpouring of support has come from the fact that this man's story has become so widespread around the world because of the viral concept of filmmaking now, and that is part of it. The drop boxes become, and as you saw the montage of footage, the drop boxes have been installed all over the world because he came up with this concept of this very simple concept that costs nothing to make and yet saves so many lives because of that video that's spreading out on the internet.
This was actually one of the most inspirational films I've ever seen. It was hard not to cry the whole time, but yes, not from sadness, but from the beauty of it. And I think that every person needs to see this film. And I think what's so inspirational about it is that God does have a purpose for every single person in the room, anyone that sees it, but in the world. And I think that so often we miss that. And this man was originally doing that, and he in fact was that son. He was the prodigal son at one point, because he was going out, he was just having fun and living his life, and he was, so often we get off of our true path for the Lord and what he has planned for us, which is not something ordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. And so for the son to come into his life as that blessing, and to have that purpose, to allow him to fulfill his purpose, is what's so beautiful, and how we're all connected. In every day that we encounter someone, we can either make their day in their life better, or we can make it worse, and that's a choice that we have. And so I think that even looking at all of his other children, all of his adopted children, I mean, look at how much they've grown, like how much they've learned and all the things they're doing. One is going to be a nurse, one is studying this. I mean, there's no limit to the extent, and that's what's so powerful about film, and why, you know, it's one of the things that I've dedicated, you know, my life to, is switching over, making movies for God as opposed to just making movies. It's so difficult because, you know, this theater should be full at all times, you know, every theater, and it's harder to get the people in here when it's something positive as opposed to something negative. I mean, if it's a horror film, everybody's lined up around the building to see that negativity, to be, you know, to be afraid. And this man's journey is just, it's absolute testimony to the Lord and to God, and to actually dedicating ourselves and our lives to our true purpose. And I think that's why he doesn't ever get tired or feel tired, because he's running on the Lord's power. He knows what he's doing. He knows what God has given him. And once you're in line with that, there's no stopping any of us.
Thank you. Any piggybacking or from? No.
Now, if I may, actually,
Okay, I'm going to do some piggyback. Going back to the idea of purpose and all that. I think that's something that's so beautiful for me. It was a very hard film for me to watch the first time we watched it. I had to pause it. I had to step back. It's just so happened that as for us, our experience with this specific festival is that all the films that we watched, once they were all submitted, we watched now as expectant parents. So it's such a different lens. You know, all of little life's stepping stones. You know, you end up watching everything so differently. I can't even watch a Disney movie the same anymore. So you know, when we were first watching it, I had to stop because it is a rough, especially that first shot when I think they're feeding their son through the tube. You know, and the noise and for me it was, my heart was hurting so much. But at the same time, I had to, you know, I geared myself up again. I'm like, this is life. Life is, and I think it's so beautifully put in this film, because life is messy and it's unpredictable, and it's full of joy, and it has a lot of those moments where you think, I can't watch what's going to happen next. And at the same time, once you do, you realize, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I'm over that. I caught it. I went over that bump, and look at where we're at now. You know, and what a gift. So I felt this entire movie just allowed for them. It's like, oh, I don't know, and then you pass, you know, that struggle and that fear, and it's such a beautiful thing. And it takes me back to the young son, the one who may inherit his father's kingdom, if you will. And the fact that, you know, with his disability, obviously he was completely shunned, and yet he has that moment of, enough is enough. I could be afraid. I could continue to just, you know, sit here by myself while these other kids do what they do, or I could stand up, and I could take a stance and not just stand up, but go for student elections, which is, you know, literally being in the public eye as far as the school is concerned. And at that moment, life changes. You know, so it goes back for me. For me, it's a film about, okay, how afraid are you? And are you going to let that fear conquer you? Or are you going to take a step forward and do something incredible that you didn't think that you could? Just over and over. Another thing, and maybe I'll let Frank take this on. For me, a few years ago, Frank and I were leading a youth retreat where the very, very last conversation we were going to have with these teenagers before they got home is, you know, how to go back home after a day of retreat where you realize, you know, God's love for you and your job in society. How do you go back home? And something Frank brought up, and I will let you talk about it a little bit, is the fact that we forget as kids, we always think, oh, you know, why did God give me mom and dad? Or why did I get this sister? Or, you know, things like that. When it's in reverse, our children are gifts to us. So as parents, sometimes we even think, okay, I got this child, so therefore I have to, you know, teach them and you know, develop them. And yet we find out very quickly in this movie, well, not very quickly, but obviously at the end, the big revelation is he's my teacher. He's my gift. So I don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit, and then we'll open it up for.
You want to prepare anything? I think going back to the idea that if a child recognizes that they are the present, that they are the gift in the family, this son realized that. And he realized that he wasn't being raised to I don't mean to look down on our society, but there's a lot of kids that are stuck in this self-involved, self-centered mentality. It's kind of moved through within the culture that it's all about me, it's all about me, it's all about me. Once you let go of that, if a child can let go of that self-centered mentality that's kind of surfaced around, something blossoms in them. And I think it takes something where they're exposed to that. If they're not exposed, then they're never going to be able to make the connection themselves that they are a gift and that they have, even at the age of 5, 6, 7, some unique talent, gift that they can also help and attribute and be part of society and a family. And I think the movie definitely has brought that out, and I was so inspired by his son, who was saying that, once my dad leaves, who is going to pick this up? Am I going to let his work go in vain? Am I going to let it just kind of die out? Or is my calling maybe to continue this so that more lives can continue to be saved? As a child, I was not thinking that. At that age, I was thinking about, I'm going to go play some basketball, I'm going to hop the fence, I want to go dig some dirt, make some mud pies, I'm going to play baseball. I mean, that was my mentality.
That was last week, though. That wasn't like
exactly. So you know what I'm saying? Like, to come to that revelation, it's really, really, really inspirational, and I think this film has really inspired me in so many different ways. So I'd like to actually open up to the audience to hear what you guys have to say. Sure.
I love that a hand came right up. Usually it's silence and it's like this fear for a few seconds.
Hi, I want to say thank you to you guys, and I loved what you said, your feedback. I felt much the same way. I have children myself, and for me it was heart-wrenching to watch this movie, but inspirational as well. And just to piggyback on you, exactly, I was thinking the same thing. How mature of this child to be able to say, this is my calling. I mean, his mentality is so mature, and I think, yes, as a culture, sometimes our kids are so involved in having so many things. We're so blessed in this country that our children don't get a chance to have empathy. They don't get a chance to see this, and so it's so important to teach them.
They get a lot of sympathy.
Yes.
But they don't get empathy.
They don't
I agree
understand.
100%.
Another thing I wanted to say is Romans 8 came to mind to me with purpose. Just read it to you. So it says Romans 8:28, and we know that God causes all things to work together for the good of those who love Him, and those who are called to His purpose. Perfect for the movie. I was just so inspired. And also Corinthians, where it says, God is made strong in our weakness. And I just love how the kids have a purpose. Even though through their difficulties and disabilities, they have a purpose. And then Yuman, his son, who cannot do anything but smile. His purpose was to save all these lives. It's amazing. I think this should be like a requirement for every single person. And I agree, this theater should have been packed. Thank you.
We'll get it. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, actually, can you pass it right behind you? It's Teresa.
There should have been a warning about bring tissue.
I know. We should have provided a whole bunch.
That you had. Yeah, I thought it was a wonderful movie, and I love the beginning when they were talking about how they met, and he told what she called them fishbones, and so she was a character. I loved her, and right away it started. It was the theme for me was acceptance. That everybody has purpose and everything as it was given. It reminded me of my older brother. Died of AIDS about 10 years ago now. But he went from a healthy bodybuilder type, and he got meningitis, and when he got meningitis he went blind, mostly deaf, confined to a wheelchair, and so he he lived for 4 years in that condition, and I think personally it was the happiest 4 years of his life. Because before that he'd had a troubled life, and our family, my mom was there every day. I was there 4 times a week. He was in the facility, but he got so much love in those 4 years. I was actually jealous of him, that even though he had everything was taken away from him, and yet it was an amazing lesson for me, that I no longer fear if things are taken away from me, like if I were to go blind or to lose my hearing or anything. I think I would still be able to have a life, and I just wish everyone could have experienced what our family was able to experience that, and the fact that he was able to experience that much happiness, and that boy, what's his name, Inman? You can just tell he's a happy. He's enjoying his life, and for anyone to say that his life isn't important, probably hasn't spent any time with anyone who has this kind of disability. Congratulations for choosing that film, and is it being shown anywhere? Is it?
Yeah, actually, as they submitted during the submission process, they were just picked up for distribution. So it's going to be launched theatrically, and it's going to be launched on a wide release, I'm sure, on Blu-ray, DVD after that. But they're in the process right now. So we kind of found them along that way. So it's really, really great that it's going to happen.
What's really important too is because of this distribution deal, they're really going to need our support. You know, even if 5 of us watched 15, 30,000, if we go out and continue to spread the word, when they do get picked up, they're already picked up. When they do get to the theaters, you know, those theaters should not reflect this. It should be, you know, packed. We're 4 years old. This is a small festival still. We're still trying to grow. But the power that you still have, even in small numbers, is huge. I always make sure people know. Last year, our People's Festival winner. No, I'm sorry. Our best film winner was a film that from the UK called The Fighter's Ballad that had about 5 people in the audience, but those 5 went banana sandwich on social media about how great the film was, and of course they picked up a couple of awards from us, and that's it. They went to maybe one more film festival after that in the UK, but based on the things that they heard from these audiences, and the fact that other people were like, oh, that sounds interesting, and all of a sudden the buzz grew, they got picked up for distribution, and now they're going to be released in theaters in the US in June. So again, just don't be discouraged by the small numbers, because you're still so powerful. Just one of you, you know. So this is
social media.
Social media is it's power in our hands. So by all means, you know, if tweet about it, talk about it.
Any
do you want to?
We have some comments here.
I was just going to make a quick comment to piggyback on yours. Not just social media, which Facebook and Twitter is great, but also just community organizations or anything you have with your churches. I mean, it is instrumental, if anyone does have a church, to go to your pastor. If your pastor speaks about it or puts it on their website or spreads it out in that way, I mean, everyone will go to the theater. So that's a huge way to grassroots.
I was going to say, I'm assuming by the next door wall explosions at Captain America's way, the whole wall is vibrating. No, as we were saying, and as I said in the beginning, I had not seen the full feature until today, but I had seen so many clips of this movie online because it has gone viral, the man's story, and I think this is maybe a 5-minute video which sort of highlights this. Because of the technology that we have, because of, like, for example, a GoPro camera, which if you watch Water for Life, that little short film just before, I'm assuming a lot of that was shot with GoPro cameras, which is, if you don't know what it is, it's a very small camera. It maybe costs a couple $100, and it shoots beautiful, and you can pack it in a little waterproof case, and you can put it in the wells like they did in that one. I've seen video that they have inside the drop box. They put a little GoPro inside one of those, and you see the babies being dropped. And it's just an interesting video. And I'm assuming the baby's in that box no more than a minute. But they have those minutes of video of a GoPro inside of a baby being dropped off. It's a really beautiful thing to watch, and it's just amazing that, like I said, we can share this online, free, cheaply, and that because distribution options have changed so much, something like this can find a wide audience. And like you said, last year, yeah, the amount of the audience here doesn't matter, but the fact that it's been seen so many millions of times from people at home is what's really amazing to me.
Just to close it up, I want to ask just one question we didn't address and that they kind of brought up in the movie, and maybe Frank can address. The controversy that they're saying that if baby boxes exist, will they then encourage people to be irresponsible and just, this isn't out for me, let me drop the baby off, rather than really take the time to reflect, and if there is a life-threatening situation, then only use it. Just if you want to comment on what they
Yes, I found that very interesting, the controversy. Controversy is, it's everywhere. Anything that we do is controversial. We shouldn't be afraid of controversy, but I think that Pastor Lee said it very well, and other people said it. If we didn't have these drop boxes, this wouldn't be an issue. It would be a superficial issue. So, yes, I see the point that it could lead to abuse or to for people to say, now I have this, so I will just have a baby and neglect my baby and go drop my baby somewhere else. But I think, again, we don't place value on human life. So I don't think it's a question of how many lives are going to be saved. It's just if one life is saved, I think the drop boxes are a big plus.
Absolutely.
And I think the movie does a very good point about that. And the controversy is, again, because what are the agencies or the government or the governments afraid of this becoming a social issue? It is already a social issue. And there is no easy solution, there's no easy answer. And I think the doctor that was interviewed there, she said, unless our thinking changes, and even if we provide all the structure to be in place for things to run smoothly, that doesn't mean that they're going to go the way that we want them to go. So it's an effort, the structures need to be there, but also our mentality has to shift and has to focus. And I'm glad that we're talking about technology and about using technology in a positive way, because to me, one of the powerful images that I saw in the film was when they were talking about this mentality that we have and all this egocentric perspective that our whole society has, not only young people. There was a scene in the subway where everybody was tuned in to with earphones and looking at their phones. And to me, that's such an expression of how into myself, into my own thing, into my own world I am, and I just shut the entire world around me off. So how powerful is social media, technology, but when we use it to change minds, to change the mentality, and I think that's key.
Okay, so
Oh, one more.
Yeah, one more gentleman here.
over here.
Good afternoon, guys. Frank Castillo is my teacher. Thank you very much for inviting me. I actually came from Pembroke Pines all the way down here just to come. I didn't get to watch the whole movie. I just watched basically the end of it. But I think that was enough for me to just basically capture everything that was going on from the very beginning. And I tell you what, this invitation that you have given me today has been the greatest. Because those things that you guys showed, that is reality, okay? And a lot of us, we don't look at that, okay? I have a group of my own, okay? I have about 40 people in my house that we do Bible studies. And we decided for our own, because we know God has a purpose, to go and help those people out that they're in need. We decided to see what's going on and believe that we could make a difference. And that is a difference right there. As soon as you guys know the dates about that movie coming out, you let me know, because we are going to support it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really quickly, I just want to address that and just use that as our closing as well. This is the reason why this film festival exists. These movies are absolutely stunning. Not just to see, but also for the heart, for the spirit, no matter what faith you are, I think. And what we like and what I love so much about the panels is the fact that you get to not leave that thought in your mind, but speak it. I think when a thought is spoken out, it becomes the opening for an action. So from here, what we would love more than anything would be if your film festival experience continued, not just by coming back and watching more movies. Please come back and watch more movies. But by taking this experience home, taking it, talking to your kids, talking to your best friend about it, talking to your neighbor. You know, I saw this movie and it moved me so much, and let this experience not stick to the screen alone. Okay, it can't live just on the screen alone. It's got to continue on inside of you. Each of these stories are so magnificent. So with that, we pray, we hope that you were inspired. That's our theme this year. Inspired to continue this journey that you started right here in this theater. And we hope to see you very, very soon. We do have the short films happening at 4:15 right here in this theater. Oh my gosh, and so important, don't forget the little ballots. If you still have yours, they will be collected on the way out. Don't forget, this one's up for People's Festival. So again, 5, 4, if you're really, really feeling it, then you can write a 3 in. 2 or 1, 5 being the greatest, 1 being, I don't know, it kind of left me wanting more. Although I have a feeling that this one couldn't possibly. So anyway, thank you so much. We love you from the bottom of our hearts, and we can't wait to see you again. Yes.
Remember, not only the shorts today at 4:15, at 8 o'clock we have another beautiful documentary about Alzheimer's called The Genius of Marion. So if you were inspired, I can guarantee that The Genius of Marion will inspire you as well. And then we have Let There Be at 10 o'clock. And then tomorrow we have In Her Footsteps, and then also The Savior. And I just wanted to point out, because you walked in a little earlier, the screenwriter of The Savior is here, Philip Dorr. I just wanted to point out. So he'll be there tomorrow to talk about his film, The Savior. So I just want to invite you all back.
Thank you for the filmmakers. Thank you for the filmmakers.
Yes, and all our filmmakers and our panelists. Thank you so much. And we will see you in just a few hours, hopefully. Thank you. Take care.
Not a baby anymore.
Captain America is freaking out. It's like, well, every time the wall shook, he started shaking.